Well, hey there, Good News Church. I hope you guys are doing well. Just wanted to continue our little series of encouragements today in the story of Joseph, and particularly Joseph being in prison. If you've missed the last couple, just let me catch you up. What we have seen is that Joseph in prison is in a similar situation in many ways to how we are in this time of lockdown in the UK, although I appreciate some of you may well have been able to go back to work more recently. And we saw that was because Joseph was isolated, separated from his family, but also because Joseph had plans and dreams, and suddenly those dreams and plans came to an end. Suddenly, as Joseph was not expecting, but they suddenly seemed to stop, and he's in prison with no way out, and he's wondering what is going on. And we said that could be a bit like us. You know, we're in this time of lockdown, we're separated from family and friends, but also some of us will have had dreams, visions, aspirations, plans, and they seem to have stopped, whether that be personal or through business or in your employment or whatever that might look like. And so we were looking at things that we can learn from Joseph's response in prison. And the first thing we saw is that Joseph continues to trust in God, even though his life seems to have fallen down around him. And I wanted to encourage us, let's keep trusting God at this time. God knows what he is about. He knows what he's doing. He's still sovereign. Then last time we saw that Joseph continued to believe that he could be used by God, that it's easy for us during times of challenge to think that God's abandoned us, to think either consciously or subconsciously that God is not able to use us. And yet Joseph did not do that. Joseph knew that God could continue to use him even in that time in prison. This morning, what I want us to see is the way that Joseph responds to the others in prison with him. And that is that Joseph continues to love. The reason I want us to see this is because often when it comes to time of challenge, often when it comes to time of hardship, it is easy for us to get focused on ourselves, on our own misery, on our own challenge, and forget to love those who are around us. And yet that is what we're called to do as believers. And Joseph does it so well here in this story. In Genesis and chapter 40, which is where the story of Joseph in prison is, we read in verse 6, when Joseph came to them the next morning, that's the other prisoners who are there, he saw that they were dejected. So he asked Pharaoh's officials who were in custody with him in his master's house, "Why is it that you look sad today?" I think that's interesting. It would have been easy for Joseph to see them and think, well, we're all in prison. I'm feeling a bit miserable today as well. But that's not what Joseph does. Joseph puts his own feelings aside and cares for those who are in prison with him. And I want to bring you just a little encouragement today that even during this time of lockdown, perhaps you are still in isolation, perhaps you've been locked down with family, and maybe you are spending a lot more time in close proximity to each other than you normally would. And you're thinking, man, I do still love you, but I would love a break right now where I can have some space. And maybe you're feeling that, and tempers might be fraying, and you might be getting frustrated with one another. Let me encourage you this. Love one another during this time. Love those who are around you. Choose to love. Choose to put them first. Choose to not put your own feelings, your own desires before those of others. But as Joseph does in this passage, watch out for those who are around you and see how you can bless them. And so I wanted to bring you that encouragement today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I love you guys. I'm really missing hanging out with you. Looking forward to doing the Bible study later on this evening, and hope you guys have a brilliant afternoon. Take care then. Bye-bye.